Good morning. I am bringing you a reading today for the week of May 30th, 2022 through June 5th, 2022. And I today am going to be using a little different process. I brought in the USA chart. The reason I brought this chart into the situation is because we live in the USA. And so I'm comparing the transits that we are all feeling in every way, that sense of nervousness, that really uncomfortable, like, where are we and why is this happening to us? So I am going to go ahead and do this reading according to the chart and the cards. And I'm going to show you in that sense how this can be done. I've been playing with these particular ideas for a while. I am an eighth house configured soul, fixed, very earth, fire dominant. So I have the ability to see for miles. I somehow know things that are beyond my ability to fully appreciate. If I have a family member, for instance, my son's in the hospital and I had something happen maybe 3 or 4 days ago. I have to ask him what day he just told me, and we're kind of getting that figured out, where he's at and what's happening. He's having surgery, but basically I'd had a really terrible anxiety attack, like something was wrong with me. And it's very overwhelming when this stuff happens. And I used to feel like I was demon possessed. So for those of you who are like me, I just want to tell you about this, because I don't want, it's scary to be highly psychic and not necessarily have proper support in a religious country. So very scary stuff sometimes. So let's go ahead and look at these cards. And it starts out, the Strength card is going to really relate to where we want to come out and see ourselves as these Leonian. We know who we are. I'm independent. I'm going to strike out. Well, in the USA chart, that's happening in the 7th house. So we believe that we're operating in strength. And are we? The Justice card, which is our foundation, is again a really interesting story, because we have the Justice in the 9th house. We have Neptune, watery, deep, looking to and that's in Libra, in partnership, in how we relate and get along. So automatically right there's some confusion. Now, what does this create? One of the things that we're seeing, that we don't have social justice really in our system. People can say, oh, it was Black Lives Matter that did this January 6th thing to our family, to our house, to our ancestral rights. That leaves me feeling like, what's going on here? So again, keep in mind that in this sense, that justice is Neptunian here for us, the people. Crisis-based. It's meant to keep us off balance. And that's what they're going to do this week. This week is going to be about perhaps telling us things that are just simply not true. Now, let's move on to the Knight of Cups. Why do I know this? Well, if you look at the Knight of Cups, the Knight of Cups is this charming relationship energy, comes in, knows what to say, knows how to behave, knows very, very, very willing to tell us how to do it, right? And doesn't have a clue, hasn't got the experience or the skills. He's not the king. He's a knight. He doesn't have the skills. So it's sort of like Mars in the 10th house. He doesn't know how to, he's still beholden to the king. He can't tell the story outside of the king telling him, but he has a burning desire to be in charge. So he lies to us. So he looks like he's something bigger and greater than he really is. And that's largely what we're dealing with our politicians these days, a lot of lies. And we allow it, making us the lovers, number 6. Family being tied to a lie. Codependent. expecting someone else to fix our problems for us. Well, where does that come in? That's our moon here in the USA chart. In this case, the moon in Aquarius, of course, they've got us in a case of delirium where we don't know ourselves from the collective, and they've kept it this way purposely. What's really fascinating, and I'll get to the, actually, I'm going to back up, and I'm not going to go into what's really fascinating yet, because it's just, I want to wrap it up and do the chart part next, and that way I can really point this out. But us being tied to the Lovers, where we think justice is going back and forth between the House of Government and us, and we listen to what they say and we do what they say. Now, we might be confused by what they say, but but we continue to do it anyway. And at some point, that's just not smart. And the next card we get is the Magician, sleight of hand. Where does that come in? That's first house Pluto. They're into it. They're switching things around. They're saying, oh yeah, for our survival, we need to put this law in place. And for our survival, we need to put that law in place. Case in point, 9/11, where we lost a lot of ground as people and did so willingly, because what our moon says, we're receptive. We want to do the right thing. Our moon says we want to be a part of the solution. We're about love. And they're playing a lot of tricks on us. They're playing a lot of games with us. And we allow it. We're tied to them because we think that's called justice. We think that we have to do what they tell us. Not so fast. We do have to do what they say, but we need to start looking at what's best for us. All right. And then the last card is the Hermit. And the Hermit is seeking justice. The Hermit wants justice. The Hermit wants to understand what the Magician is doing. And where is the Hermit? The Hermit is in the 8th house in Mercury here. And he's saying, I want to understand in the North Node, and where we're having this eclipse energy. He's saying, I want to understand in the details, Virgo. I want to understand what's going on here. I want to understand why this is happening. But we're not stepping into action. And some places we are, like in Canada, where they did the rally, the truckers rally. I think we largely misunderstood what that might have been about. So where are we really? Well, we are in a place where we're having what's called a Pluto return. And now I will switch over to the chart where you can see this chart down here at the bottom shows these Pluto figures, right? Pluto in the 2nd house, Pluto in Capricorn. Cold. Pluto saying, I am here to reform government. I'm here to make a change. Thank you very much. And if you notice the 28 right here, that's a completion number. That's a 10 put together, a 10. And then you break it down again and it becomes a 1, something new. So a completion is coming and something new will in fact take place. Let's talk a little bit about this chart so that we have some understanding of what might be happening. Well, this chart says that I'm very low on earth. I care very little about or feel very disconnected and unwilling to look at the issues of earth. I'm willing to take from the earth for my own needs, but I'm not willing to look at the earth as its needs. I'm a psychopath and I take for my own survival without regard for you. And because I don't have much fire, I don't really understand that well what I'm doing. I don't have very good knowing. I'm very light on knowing. I just have a touch, only enough knowing to be trouble. I tend to do things instinctively, but no idea why. Because I've got 3 in water. I say in water that, well, I understand that energy where we as people, we want to connect and belong and feel, and I take advantage of that. I use that against you. I'm the government. And I have a lot of air, so I think a lot, and I spend a lot of time trying to outsmart you. I'm a genius at outsmarting you. So this is just the elements alone talking in the USA chart. And we're in a process of a Pluto return. Now, Pluto return took out Rome on its second pass, its second Pluto return. We're not going to be so fortunate, I'm afraid. We are going to experience reforms. They're going to tell us we need to make reforms because, well, we can't continue to have the money problems going out of control like they are. And we need all of you to work harder, and we need to tax you. And social justice looks like that it was Black Lives Matter that went in and did this terrible thing, and there's social unrest, and there's inequities, there's distrust, the foundations are crumbling, and there's death and rebirth. And Rome fell during a Pluto return, the second Pluto return. We won't be so lucky, as I said. Now, let me kind of go over the chain with you, the chain of dispositors. And I realize that's a fancy term. I was really good at math, and this is an old method. Okay. I did all math available to me by the time I was the beginning of 8th grade. So I helped teach math to children who had learning disabilities at the age of 8th grade. I would take them out into the hall in little groups, like 4 or 5, and we would work together, and I would help them learn math. So this for me is kind of my natural patterning. So I want to kind of say that, and this is not something I could easily teach another person. It's very complicated the way but this dispositors chain I can, but anyway. So what we have is, what starts out, we have Uranus. We have a revolution evolution, where we're all experiencing and not really understanding why. What is this revolution evolution about? And we're this nurturing and receptive, taking it all in, listening, wanting to be good, wanting to be moral, wanting to please and have our mommy and daddy government happy with us. So we go to work, we work hard, we do what we think they're asking, which is pay our taxes, and that looks beautiful. That's Venus, where we're doing the loving act of providing back to our family, to the collective, what we can in the form of taxes. Okay, and that's like a feedback loop. It keeps going back around. Then it goes on to where, when we break a little bit loose of that, right now we're breaking a little loose of that, because we're talking about it, thinking, air. We're saying, oh, wait a minute, maybe this isn't such a great thing. Maybe we have to kind of look at what's happening within our system, our collective, because maybe I'm not being represented. I certainly don't feel like anyone is talking to me about inflation, and this is really scary to me. All of these things are on the table this week. Okay. Then you've got above that, you've got the expansion of something kind of aggressive against us, the people, that they're looking to do. They're looking to call that good, and they want us to accept it and go back again into that loop. But again, if we choose to break out, then what happens is we break into crisis. Neptune, 22 degrees. All right. And then if we break into crisis, what do? We get the government coming back and saying, oh no, people, we have a contract. You will do what we say. Note Saturn, 10th house in Libra. You will follow the rules. Or if you look at that number, 14 degrees, turning into a 1 and a 5, a 5, conflict. 1 being, we'll break it out and do something new. We'll hold down the 4 corners. You will find out for yourselves what we're all about. Then it moves on to punishment, Pluto. Reform. We will be reformed. We will know what it is that they can hand out. So is this anything to be frightened of? No, it is. It's time for us to grow up and become aware of our part in our own cycle. We have a part in this. We tend to let someone else decide for us because intuitively we believe they're like mom and dad, and they love us, and they have our best interests at heart, and they would never want to harm us. That's not true. We need to quit thinking that it's true. When they want to take your taxes, the media is owned by 6 people. Let that number sink in. 6 people, the number of family. They have us so manipulated. They can tell us what they want to tell us. They can have this very heavily Puritan viewpoint on television, and we all feel morally obligated to feed that monster. They can tell us that, case in point, during Second World War, bring in all your gold, the government needs it, and people just brought it in, gave it away. So, think about this. We're in a time like no other, and our government has taken from us and taken from us. And Black Lives Matter, they didn't commit January 6th. That is just some ludicrous thinking. And with that, I ask that you hit the like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment. I don't grow without your help. And I thank you very much for joining me here today. And let's do this together. Thank you very much.